Great news for Probuild creditors. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because we're going to start the week with some fantastic news for Probuild creditors. Now, we've been discussing the ongoing construction apocalypse for some time now. Builders, many in the spec home sector, have been going under. And frankly, through no fault of their own. For many of them, you couldn't predict the scenario that started, and it's a situation that has been juiced up by the government, just pumping all their money to stimulate the housing sector. And then you've got inflation, importing costs, labor issues, lockdowns, and, well, fixed price contracts. So it really is a mess. But this is some good news, everyone. This is fantastic news for small creditors who owe money. Now, who are owed money. If you've ever worked for someone and they've stiffed you on an invoice, you know what it's like. As an architect, the only cost I would lose is my investment in my capital, my time and my staff's time, and what is it, the square meterage proportion of the venue rental? Whereas if you're a tradie, you could be buying and installing things into premises, and then you've also got all of that stuff I'm losing, but then physical investments into goods as well. So it's a tough game. It really is. So I can see why people get out of it, to be honest. You get all the, you know what? Nah, not worth it. So let's look. What happened to construction giant Probuild after the $250 million collapse? The construction giant sent shockwaves, and this is from news.com.au, when it collapsed, owing millions with 18 projects underway. Now liquidators have revealed what happens next. I mean, this is the problem is, particularly when you're a small business owner, you can get to the point where a big portion of your revenue could be tied up with one project or one client. That's an issue we had back in the day during the mining boom. We had so much work coming to us from one client, and I was quite wary going, if this dries up, I'm going to have all these people sitting here and nothing to do. So I always kept fighting to get more alternative clients. Same thing is for an individual. If you're an employee, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You want to have a side gig. You want to have something else going on, even a hobby that you could fall back onto. When construction giant Probuild collapsed earlier this year, administrators Deloitte revealed they were facing a nightmarish situation with at least 2,300 individual creditors identified and more than $14 million owed to 784 workers. Overall, there were $250 million in outstanding debts owed by the company, according to administrators. But Jason Tracy, a Deloitte partner who helped lead the administration, said there had been a significant milestone achieved for 200 small creditors. Probuild failed after its parent company, WBHO, South Africa, announced it was withdrawing any financial assistance in February after injecting millions to prop them up as it grappled with the government's hardline stance with handling the pandemic. Okay, so we need to realize that a lot of the economic destruction we're seeing now is the price we're paying for the strict interventions in the economy. So just don't forget that, okay? When people are arguing for future lockdowns, maybe there needs to be some scenario testing, just perhaps. Who are we kidding? It's all too emotional, isn't it? At the time, there were 18 major projects around Australia worth around $5 billion underway, including the $1 billion accommodation and entertainment complex, The Ribbon in Sydney, and the future headquarters for global biotech giant CSL in Melbourne. I mean, they're a well-known brand. Everyone watching would know Probuild. Everyone in the construction game who's watching would know Probuild. Deloitte had supported a proposal from WBHO in February that would have seen smaller creditors receive between 50 and 71 cents in the dollar, and others between 3.9 and 24.6 cents. Now, what this means, guys, is you could be, in worst case scenario, only getting 3.9 cents for every dollar that you're owed from Probuild in this scenario. So say you've got an invoice for 100 grand, which isn't an unreasonable amount of money. It's not an excessive amount of money, not on projects like this, but 100 grand, you'll only get 3.9% of that. It's almost like an altcoin, isn't it? It's unsecured. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? But there's been a win for small creditors who are owed $25,000 or less, including contractors, who will now receive the full amount owed to them. Deloitte revealed, meaning payments of $1.8 million in total would be made. So, I mean, 25 grand, it's not the end of the world, but it could be. It could be that little bit amount of money that's enough to get you over a hump. That's enough to stop you from going bankrupt. That's a year's worth of mortgage, or it should be a year's worth of mortgage repayments, but not quite. That's 250 cartons of cigarettes. No, I got that wrong. It's not that expensive yet. So, I mean, there you go. That's fantastic news. If you owe 25 grand, you're getting it all back. You're not getting gypped like some of the bigger creditors, only 3.9 cents. So, this is why hopefully everyone will get the first 25 grand back, but, you know, for people owed significant amounts. Remember, we were watching other videos, and the brickie who was doing all this work for a spec home builder was owed like $400,000. It just, you've got to know, this is the challenging situation. You've got to know when to say no and step away, but that could destroy the relationship. In September, former employees received $16 million in outstanding entitlements. Deloitte's Sal Algeri said they'd one shot at saving the business. As administrators, our key objective at the outset was to maintain the business operations and employment to the greatest extent possible. Probuild being one of the few contractors in the industry able to undertake large-scale projects, he told The Australian. We recognised the value in the strong reputation and relationships that the group had with many key stakeholders, including the union's principals and other key stakeholders. We worked closely with management to preserve those relationships, which enabled us to move quickly and keep projects live. In a situation like this, you only get one shot at saving the business by finding the right buyer. So early engagement with stakeholders and eventual novation of contracts to a new owner were all highly critical to the outcome. In March, the 5 Victorian Probuild projects were acquired by another construction firm called Roberts Co., which also ensured the continuity of employment of more than 150 Probuild head office and site employees and saved $100 million in potential creditor claims. It took over projects including the CSL headquarters, UNO Melbourne, a 65-level residential tower, and Caulfield Village, the $300 million Melbourne site, a build-to-rent project offering 8 buildings with 437 apartments. Wow. I'm just thinking you buy an investment in there, you're going to be sitting there forever. You're going to be competing with 400 other people every time. Administrators were also able to secure the sale of West Australian operators to ASX-listed SRG Global for $15.2 million. Deloitte David Orr said fixed price contracts and inappropriate risk-sharing models had caused pain in the construction sector. All too often, the sector displays weak balance sheets dependent on debt funding models that provide little or no resilience for even a small proportion of bad projects, he said. After Probuild's demise, a spate of construction companies have collapsed this year, with more than a dozen failing caused by a perfect storm of supply chain disruptions, skilled labour shortages, skyrocketing costs of materials and logistics, and extreme weather events. Well, I took the weekend off because of the extreme weather event we've had here in Queensland, because frankly I didn't want to trudge through the mud to get to my office. So I had a very relaxing weekend. That's why I didn't have any videos, and why I played a whole lot of XCOM 2 and did nothing. It was awesome. Reminded me when I was much younger with no children. Binge gaming. But yes, extreme weather events. In August, major Queensland residential builder Oracle Platinum Homes went in liquidation. Yep, we've saw this, and they're talking about all the other ones that we've discussed on the channel here many times, hence the construction apocalypse. So let's have a talk about this. So some good news, I'd say great news. For people owed up to 25 grand, at least they're getting it all back. This is a win for some people, and that can be a significant amount for someone. It's good. This is good news. I mean, the whole thing's a mess, but, you know, there are rumors that it was in trouble long before a lot of this pandemic stuff, and that's just what tipped Probuild over the edge. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. Have you ever been through this situation where a client that you've worked for has gone bankrupt? How much did you get back? I've only had two clients stiff us on money. One I took and one a QCAT against. The other one I couldn't bother. And neither of them I got the money. All the others, the worst case, has just been really late paying. So, I shouldn't complain that much. But it's part of the game. If only we were all like the lawyers, can get everything paid into a trust account and no risk. It's unbelievable. It's all bullshit. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Check out my other channels, Heise BIM and HeiseSays International. On my BIM channel, I asked the question of how often do you update your Rivet template? That's the current one we're looking at now. And on the international channel, we discuss international news similar to this. If you want to support us, you can financially on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our merch, or call us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. And I'll see you in the next episode of HeiseSays. Bye for now. Bloody good news. I'll put good news in the title. Will anyone watch it?